Welcome back to episode 2 of Abiotic Factor Story Mode. If this is your first time here, there will be a link in the description to the full series. Previously, our subject went on a rescue mission through the vents of the facility in an attempt to save Dr. Yeager, which unfortunately ended in failure. Having no time to spare, our subject began exploring the facility farther, before spending their first night in the Cascade Research Facility. I woke up on my second day in the facility at 4 a.m. Barely being able to sleep due to everything that happened yesterday, I began aimlessly wandering around my base, since the power still hadn't turned back on, and I was far too scared to leave my base in the dark. At 6 a.m., the power turned back on, much to my relief. Feeling peckish, I headed to one of the nearby vending machines and used some of the little cash I did have to grab a snack. After eating my snack, I followed my map through the plaza to level 2. Heading towards manufacturing as Warren had suggested. As I approached the corridor into manufacturing, I noticed the door was shut tight, with a man named Garrison nearby who was gravely injured. Leaning against a forklift, he explained that soldiers had come through, and that they had locked down manufacturing, also mentioning that they wanted information about silos on level 3. To be honest, I didn't really know what he was talking about there. He said that they weren't gatekeepers, which I assumed were the regular security at this facility, but that there was something else. He told me that if I could find a power cell, I'd be able to power the forklift jammed into the door. We'd be able to open the door and leave via the surface tunnel, connected to manufacturing. And then he sent me on my way to find someone who knew about power cells. I headed back to where I'd come from, briefly checking out a weird lower platform. Okay, is this person gonna get out of there? Seriously. What do they mean briefly? We literally have their footage. And they write briefly in the log? Huh. Oh, there we go, finally. Anyways, let's continue. Briefly checking out the weird lower platform before heading back to my base, spending the rest of the day doing resource runs to increase my stockpile. On day 3, I decided to explore more of level 2. One of the first things I found was a janitor's closet with a receptionist named Gaz huddled inside in terror. He mentioned the same people Grayson had mentioned, that they weren't gatekeepers, but Gaz mentioned something about them shooting, which might explain Grayson's injuries. I spent the rest of my third day gathering resources from level 2. On day 4, I had mostly just explored more of level 2, eventually stumbling upon someone called Dr. Shepard. Her plan was to just wait out the whole situation inside of an office, not willing to walk all the way through manufacturing just to leave. By the way she talked, she had basically no clue of what was going on, so I moved on. At this point, I was out of food, besides what was in the vending machines anyways, and had resorted to eating the specimens I had killed in my exploration, though I could tell that they weren't good for me. Eating them made me feel nauseous. Unfortunately, I had no other choice at this time. Day 5. Last night was the first night I spent in a makeshift bed I had made. It was so much better than on the couch. Starting the day, I repaired a door with an entry brick. I'm getting good at that. It gave me access to a lift up to level 3, as well as a loop back to the manufacturing corridor. On level 3, I seemed to be in quite the closed-off zone, only having access to one door, which, as soon as I entered, it warned that having a Geiger counter was recommended in the area. Unfortunately for me, I didn't have one of those, but I moved on anyways. As I entered, I immediately spotted a dead body with glowing spikes coming out of it, and what seemed to be an elevator door that was jammed open. Inside the elevator was the body of a specimen, which my gate pal let me know was a Zor. Exploring the room farther, I found why the radiation warning was there. A large orb, what seemed to be a portal, was in the center of the room, with a few bodies on the ground around it. Deciding not to mess with it for now, I decided to head back to the plaza to talk to Warren. During one of our past conversations, he had mentioned having stuff he was willing to sell, one of which was an employee locator, which would let me know the location of all nearby gate employees, which would come in handy exploring the facility farther. Afterwards, I decided to take the risk and hop through the portal. According to a diagram, going through it should bring me to another location in the facility, and I had explored all I can reach from where I was and was hoping that it would bring me somewhere new. Inside seemed to be some kind of alternate dimension, with flora I'd never seen before. There was a couple of Zors I had to take out as I explored, which proved to be quite the battle. I learned from a recording device that this place was called Antiverse 2. I found another portal inside this dimension. Hopping in, I ended up in another part of the facility as the diagram had said. From there, I was able to unlock a door which let me go back to the lift that had originally taken me up to level 2. I decided to head back to the base for the night. On day 6, I decided to explore level 3, finding new resources to use in my crafting as I went. Eventually, I stumbled upon another break room, the employee locator coming in handy, letting me know that someone was hidden in the ceiling of the room. I had to jump up on a table just to talk to them. Their name was Dr. Regal. The first words he spoke were about how it wasn't his fault. I didn't blame him. Anyways, he said he had worked on power cells, not portals, which was exactly what I needed. He mentioned that they take the power cells to Silo 3 and he never sees them again. Deciding I had had enough exploring on level 3 for now, I found the elevator and went down, heading to my base. As I went about cooking and sorting the resources I had gathered for my latest expedition, I noticed the air felt strange. And a few minutes later, the lights that spawned stuff in appeared. But this time, it wasn't just a flash, it stayed there. Realizing I might have a fight on my hand, I prepped for one. By the time the power went out for the night, 2 more of those rifts appeared. And what followed was a battle which, while it felt intense, in reality I took them out easily without taking more than a few scratches myself. Finally, the rifts disappeared and the air felt normal again. After cleaning up the bodies of the pests, I headed to bed for the night. On day 7, I continued my exploration of level 3. I had located Silo 3, but it was sealed shut. Nearby, a Dr. Mayfield had explained that the systems had locked her out, and she wasn't able to open the door, and that she wouldn't leave without her data. She had the idea of salvaging CPUs from the security bots, because their CPUs stored access codes, so that we could hack the door. A little ways away, I found a security bot in its charging pod. I smacked the pod till it broke, and the bot woke up. It then proceeded to wreck me, nearly killing me. I had no other choice. I ran for my life. Thanks for watching the video. Consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the story. Full playlist is on screen now, so until next time, goodbye.